Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're taking a look at a fully maxed out level 50 Urshifu Rapid Strike in the Master League. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community Roll in the Heat, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now we've already taken a look at a level 50 Urshifu Single Strike, the Dark Urshifu. This is the Water Urshifu. It runs Counter, Aqua Jet, and Dynamic Punch, and being a Water type is at a premium in a Master League that is dominated with the Crown forms that rely heavily on Steel type damage. So without further ado, let's hop on the matches and take a look at Urshifu Rapid Strike in the Master League. Hopping into the first match, leading Solgaleo into Kirim Black, opponent switches out into Ho-Oh, and that's actually answered not with the Palkia, but instead by Urshifu. Roll in the Heat is clearly making a team read here, saying that this is a Palkia bait out, and that Palkia will have good play in the back, so in comes Urshifu. Urshifu is able to land the Aqua Jet, Ho-Oh goes for the Brave Bird, Ho-Oh is going to be able to force both shields, but we're going to see a nice farm down from the Urshifu, and Urshifu's energy is going to be deadly into that Kirim Black if that's what the opponent decides to send in. So Urshifu exits up so much energy. Opponent, are they going to bring back in the Kirim Black? Yes, they are. Urshifu going for an Aqua Jet bait. Bit of a risky bait here. Will the opponent respect Dynamic Punch? Yes, they will. And now Urshifu is going to fire off the Dynamic Punch. Will the opponent double shield in this matchup? No, they will not. Dynamic Punch lands. Down goes Kirim Black. In the back is Duskmane, and this game is over. This poor opponent never stood a chance. And Solgaleo is not even going to bother building up to the Iron Head. This is their final Pokemon. They have no way of ever resetting a defense debuff for the remainder of the game, so may as well just go straight Psychic Fangs and just continually shred their defense. They're going to go for the Outrage, so they're actually running a moveset that is fully walled by the Solgaleo. They're on Outrage plus Iron Head. Psychic Fangs number 2 is going to connect, and Solgaleo can just very comfortably take home this win, fully farming down Duskmane, and it turns out Palkia wasn't even needed. Bad lead in the next match, leading into a Shadow Rhyperior. The safe switch into Urshifu, these counters adding up quite a bit. Opponent is going to switch out, sending in Keldeo, and now we have the battle of the water fighting types. Keldeo going to get smacked with a Dynamic Punch that does pretty nice damage. Keldeo gets the return fire with the Sacred Sword. Now we get to test out Urshifu's bulk in the Master League, and it looks like Urshifu has pretty solid bulk, able to hang on, surviving the poison jabs as well to make a second Dynamic Punch and forcing a shield. This is honestly pretty nice, as now Solgaleo is going to get a big farm down. Solgaleo obviously going to threaten the Rhyperior with the Iron Head. So Keldeo is going to fire off a last second charge attack. It is going to be the Aqua Jet, and right on cue, in comes Shadow Rhyperior. Shadow Rhyperior did not want to let Solgaleo get that farm down. Rock Wrecker connects, that's big damage, and now in comes Palkia. Palkia stayed on the bench for all of Game 1, and Game 2 looking to make a bit more of an impact. There's Breaking Swipe from the Rhyperior, we do not see an attack drop, and Rhyperior is going to get fully farmed down. And it looks like the opponent is just going to immediately resign the match. And we move to the next match, and unfortunately, it's another Rhyperior. Urshifu going to be the save switch once again, walled off by the Primarina counter swap, but it's on Waterfall for some reason, so this is actually super fine for Urshifu. Waterfall, never really going to generate a lot of fast move pressure. The opponent doesn't even build up to the Disarming Voice, and you saw that instant no shield. If the opponent's not even going to bother building up to the nuke move, why would you ever respect it? So that's an easy no shield for Urshifu. Urshifu can always flip Switch Advantage now, but Switch Advantage isn't helpful into a Shadow Rhyperior. Instead, trying to soft lose this matchup and then going for farm on Palkia is going to be the way to go. Palkia obviously not going to be threatened by waterfalls whatsoever, so Palkia will get a nice healthy energy head start. Unfortunately, I think Rhyperior had 2 Mudslaps of residual, and they did, so they will still be able to outpace. We will see the shield come up from the Palkia. Palkia does get debuffed. My goodness, that is unfortunate. The 50-50 chance at the Breaking Swipe does not go his way. The Aqua Tail is going to be shielded up by the Rhyperior. Rhyperior with a nice overfarm. Palkia going to burn the final shield of the match here. Palkia looking to farm up. Oh, throwing the Aqua Tail right away. I think the opponent should always let this go and just take the shield advantage for their final Mon. They end up shielding, which I think is probably going to end up being a pretty big error on their part. We do see a nice catch onto the Solgaleo, absorbing that Breaking Swipe. The opponent must be pretty weak in the back to shield there, as more often than not, they're always going to be in a better spot just taking the shield advantage, and they would have been in a better spot taking the shield advantage. The opponent could have been in a winning endgame position if they just no-shielded the Rhyperior and saved the shield for the Kirim White. Unfortunately, the opponent just didn't see the win gone, and as a result, they lose that match. Solgaleo versus Florges, dominant lead win, safe switch into Ho-Oh. In this instance, I actually think not saving the Palkia is the better play. I think bringing the Palkia into the Ho-Oh, specifically if it's a Florges lead, makes a lot more sense. And the reason why is against the Kyurem Black lead, going down shields is fine for Urshifu, because Urshifu will be able to get the shields back from the Kyurem Black because the energy is actually very valuable there. Whereas, unfortunately, the energy from Urshifu is not particularly valuable into the Florges, so Urshifu is going to go down 2 shields, but it can't really get those shields back. So I think bringing Palkia in would have been the better play. Even if it ends up being something that's very weak to Palkia in the back, I still think it probably would have been the cleaner play pattern. Aqua Jet is going to come out from the Urshifu, dealing a pretty okay amount of damage, but again, Florges is never ever going to be shielding in this matchup, knowing they're going to be aligned into a Solgaleo. Opponent is going to switch out in the back. They have Annihilape as their final Pokemon. Now, that is not a Pokemon I was expecting to see in the Master League. Aqua Jet is going to be shielded. In comes the Palkia, and Palkia now going to be hit with Rage Fist after Rage Fist as Annihilape looks to ramp up. Annihilape, just a huge difference in combat power here. They can fire off Rage Fist after Rage Fist, but it just feels so much less deadly in this league than in, let's say, the Open Great League. Annihilape is now double boosted. Will they be able to get the counter down? I imagine at +2, they should be able to counter down the Palkia. They do get the counter down, and now things could get a little bit tricky, as Solgaleo is not going to want to take a +2 Rage Fist. In comes the Solgaleo. Oh, tried to wait and get the catch, but unfortunately unable to do so. Rage Fist is going to land, and now this Annihilape is just running away with this game. In comes Florges. Florges going to be chipped now with a Psychic Fangs. Psychic Fangs, will it be enough to pick up the knockout here onto the Florges? Psychic Fangs does pick up the KO. It's going to be a race to the move, and against all odds, Solgaleo able to clutch. Nice overfarm versus that Florges switch in and take the win, and it looks like that was a 5-0 set. We've got some serious spice from the opponent in set number 2, leading Solgaleo into a Waterfall Golisopod. Golisopod's typing honestly looks amazing in the current Open Master League meta. Its issue is its stats. It really doesn't have the stats to compete, but being a bug and water type means that you fully wall off the moves from the Crown forms. Psychic Fangs is going to land, and that move does not look neutral. That honestly looks super effective with how much damage it does to the Golisopod. Nice switch out and a catch, catching the Aqua Jet onto Urshifu. Urshifu now going to be answered with Zacian, but now we see part of why Urshifu is pretty nice in this meta, because having that Metal Claw resist means that Zacian has a very tough time generating any kind of advantage. Zacian, not wanting to debuff itself, will go for Behemoth Blade, and look at how much damage these counters have done to Zacian. Dynamic Punch is going to come out, getting the opponent very low, and Urshifu just takes down a Crown form just like that. In the back, it's another Steel type, but that's not a Zamazenta. That's going to be a Duskmane. Aqua Jet is going to force a shield from the opponent, and this Urshifu is putting on a show in this game. Making it to another move, this will be the Dynamic Punch. Is the opponent really willing to double shield here? The answer is yes. They will double shield. Quick switch into the Solgaleo, trying to snipe, but unfortunately not quite able to fire off that Psychic Fangs. Clicked a fast move instead, so down goes Solgaleo. But the important thing was just wasting energy from this Duskmane. Once Duskmane is forced to burn energy, then they just can't win this game anymore, and they realize it. They are going to resign the match. We move to the next game, Solgaleo against Landorus. This is a pretty bad lead. The safe switch into Urshifu. Opponent is going to respond with Palkia. Now, this is a pretty fine spot to be as Urshifu. Urshifu consistently able to hit for neutral damage. Dynamic Punch will add up, and just like that, switch advantage can be flipped by Urshifu. Urshifu going to respect the Spatial Rend from the opponent. They are going to go for an Aqua Tail bait. Can they make another move? No, they cannot. They're unable to make that Spatial Rend. So now Urshifu exits with energy. If they bring in the Landorus, which they do, they're immediately under threat from the Aqua Jet. So Urshifu suddenly putting in a lot of work in these past few games. Urshifu very happy to let this go. Switch advantage has been flipped, and that was the goal. Now Landorus gets to suffer as Palkia hits the field, and we know how dominant of a matchup this is. Palkia always going to be fine to absorb energy from the Landorus. Landorus debuffing with the Sandsear Storm. When will the opponent look to switch out? And the answer is not yet. Instead, they're going to stay in. This Aqua Tail is going to pick up the knockout. They just fully sacrifice it. In the back, they have a Shadow Claw Kyurem Black. Kyurem Black. Oh my goodness, the missed time from the opponent. An entire free fire spin goes through. Fusion Bolt is going to land, and now Solgaleo is not going to go for the bait. Calling the opponent will try and call a Psychic Fangs. Going for the jugular. Iron Head does get shielded. Solgaleo, can it make another Iron Head? No, it cannot. Instead, forced to just settle for the Psychic Fangs. Psychic Fangs obviously coming with a guaranteed defense drop. It's going to be up to Palkia to try and close out this game. There's a lot of energy available on this Kyurem. This is going to be a race to the finish. Fusion Bolt gets shielded. Palkia able to get to this Aqua Tail, and that's going to secure the win. The opponent unable to make a third Fusion Bolt, and it looks like they force closed their app, so we're going to sit here for a little bit as Aqua Tail KOs Kyurem and takes the win. Solgaleo, great lead, staring down Primarina. Opponent's going to pivot out into Landorus, and we again see the choice to bring in Urshifu to the potential safe swap that's weak to Palkia, making the read that Palkia will be good in the back, but that means that Urshifu is going to have to keep switch here. And honestly, I don't know the matchup well enough to know if Urshifu is able to win the twos once the opponent's able to apply a lot of debuffs. It looks like the opponent is going to try and make a play for alignment, that's for sure. Urshifu going to be shielding back. Urshifu now at -2 attack. The good news is these mud shots don't seem to do a ton of damage. Urshifu looks like it does have pretty nice bulk in Masters. Firing off the Aqua Jet, that's going to land, and it looks like Urshifu will be able to shield, farm down, and win switch advantage, which is absolutely everything considering they have a Primarina and you have a Palkia. So, able to exit with an Aqua Jet. This is, I believe, a -2 Aqua Jet here, or maybe even a -3 Aqua Jet. That's going to do absolutely nothing. In comes Solgaleo, and there is Ho-Oh. So in this instance, making the call to bring in the Urshifu ended up being the game-winning read, as now Palkia just gets to completely destroy Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh at 100 energy, but it just does not matter what they throw. They go for the Brave Bird. Palkia's now at the back-to-back Aqua Tails. Aqua Tail number 1 is going to pick up the knockout. Back in comes the Primarina. Since Palkia was doubled up, the opponent's only hope was to just save the shield for the Primarina and hope that Primarina will somehow be able to sweep, but Primarina should never be able to do so, as now Solgaleo just gets to start spamming out Psychic Fangs. Opponent knows they can never shield the first, so they are going to let that through, but now these Fire Spins just do more and more and more, and they're going to have to shield the Psychic Fangs eventually, but now these Fire Spins, I mean, the opponent just knows. They're just going to let it go. They know there's no hope to win that game. Great lead in the next match. Solgaleo into Dialga. They safe switch Rhyperior, quickly answered with Urshifu. I'm very curious to see how this matchup plays out. I imagine it's pretty good for the Urshifu. Urshifu going to be hit with the Breaking Swipe. We do see that 50-50 attack drop. And even with the attack drop, Urshifu still outputting some pretty nice fast move damage. Aqua Jet is going to be shielded up by the Rhyperior. Rhyperior going to go for another Breaking Swipe, and Urshifu will end up committing its first shield. The opponent may actually be able to flip this courtesy of back-to-back debuffs. That is really unfortunate RNG for Roll in the Heat. Aqua Jet is going to be shielded. Opponent going to try for a farm down, and they actually flip it with back-to-back Breaking Swipe debuffs. It turns out Rhyperior does actually have the ability to flip that. My goodness. Rhyperior gets to land a Rock Wrecker. Solgaleo gets a farm down, but pays a heavy price to do so. In comes Ho-Oh, and we have Palkia versus Dialga. Palkia needs to get to this Spatial Rend and have the Spatial Rend be enough to knock out here. Come on, can Palkia pull off the impossible? It just cannot. There's not enough damage available for the Palkia. Palkia is just going to take so much damage as it tries to get this farm down, and unfortunately, Ho-Oh is not in a range where one move will KO. In comes the Ho-Oh, not quite able to make the Spatial Rend. Spatial Rend would have done incrementally more damage. Going for the Aqua Tail, that is going to get the opponent pretty low, but we do see a game-winning catch onto the Solgaleo. What a play. Catching the Sacred Fire. There's an undercharge from the opponent as they're going to try and exit with energy. Solgaleo, Psychic Fangs, debuffs the opponent, and Palkia will get the farm down. What a game. Oh my goodness. Hopping into the final match, we have the Battle of the Lions, Solgaleo versus Duskmane. Duskmane staying in this matchup. Duskmane throwing on very unusual timing here. They're throwing on 8. They have a very clear path to Dark Pulse on 7, so there's absolutely no reason for them ever to overfarm there. In comes Zygarde. Zygarde, there's not a clear response, so we will see it chipped with the Psychic Fangs, and then in comes Palkia. Zygarde just going to go straight for the Crunch. Crunch never does a ton of damage here, so you can probably pretty safely let this go. We will actually see a shield come out from the Palkia, so Palkia really prioritizing health. I guess in that regard, you can kind of guarantee that you won't get farmed down if you shield the crunch. It has been a while since I have played Master League, to be honest. Spatial Ren is going to pick up the knockout, and now the opponent has a bit of an interesting choice to make. They're going to bring back in Duskmane. Duskmane will get outpaced. They do survive this Aqua Tail, but it is going to take them deep into the red health, so they may feel inclined to shield. They actually decide to let that go. We see a switch into the Solgaleo, and in the back, the opponent is going to have Palkia. Did I just see a Dragon Tail Palkia? I did see a Dragon Tail Palkia. Well, that's not something you see every day. Palkia, obviously going to be better with Dragon Breath. Dragon Breath offers a lot more flexibility. They're going to go for an incredibly aggressive farm down. They exit with a ton of energy. In comes the Urshifu. Oh my goodness, this opponent keeps throwing on alignment. Throwing on alignment just makes it so much harder for you to win. So the opponent playing on hard mode here by just not timing their moves correctly. Urshifu, CMP ties, and Aqua Jet. It is going to be an Aqua Tail coming out from that Palkia. And this Aqua Jet, it's double resisted, but the Palkia is just running out of HP at this point. They are going to get KO'd. In comes Duskmane, and they are getting farmed down for the win. All in all, Urshifu Water does look like a very strong anti-meta pick for this current Master League. Having a resistance to Metal Claw is at an absolute premium. It's why we see Pokemon like Kyogre that had been a lot less strong for many seasons, having a big resurgence this season because it has that resistance to Metal Claw. We even saw a Waterfall Gliscod, although Gliscod doesn't have the stats to compete in the Open Master League, unfortunately. We saw that in that Solgaleo matchup where Solgaleo was just absolutely destroying it. But being a water type, having that water subtyping, being able to resist Metal Claw is just such a really, really nice spot to be in as a Master League Pokemon. So purely based off that, I think currently the Water Urshifu, despite the fact that it doesn't have the greatest fast moves ever, like Counter and Waterfall, neither option is great. I think it's just the better Urshifu to use in the Master League right now, which honestly surprises me quite a bit because I had more high hopes for the Dark Urshifu, but I think at the current moment, especially considering the Crown forms have just arrived and how prevalent they are, obviously we didn't see a ton of them in these battles, but I imagine that as Elo increases, this trainer mentioned they went 22-3 to Veteran with the team, then it's just going to be non-stop Crown Form City as far as the eye can see. So having a Pokemon that the Crown Forms can't really generate any advantage into because they can't really get any fast move pressure, I think is a really, really nice plus. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is so sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.